You're listening to the Talkative Toastmaster podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Surplus. In this podcast, we explore how Toastmasters can help you to polish your public speaking skills, communicate with confidence, and amplify your authenticity. You'll hear from my fellow Toastmasters and I how this global organisation has impacted our lives for the better and how it could impact yours. Now, let's get talkative. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 27 of the Talkative Toastmaster podcast. This week, I'm speaking with my guest and fellow Leading Edge Club member, Steve Bates. Having been a Toastmaster for 11 years, Steve says he's spent a fair number of those years competing in various speaking contests. Most recently, he won the District 69 Table Topics contest in Caloundra. Through our Leading Edge meetings, I've had the pleasure of seeing how Steve refines his speeches and practices both table topics and evaluations, and it's such an inspiration to watch him put it all into action. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Melanie, and thank you for that lovely introduction.
It's great to have you here, hot off the winnings of the District 69 competition, which was a fantastic result for you. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, it was a surprise. It was lovely.
It was so good to watch. So I'm sure we can talk more about that a little bit further in the podcast. But how about we start by delving into your Toastmasters journey by you telling us where it all began. Why did you decide to join Toastmasters?
Yeah, okay, thank you. Look, it wasn't the usual journey. I think a lot of people have a fear of public speaking and bite the bullet to get out of that initial fear of it by joining Toastmasters. For me, I had already broken that ice, so to speak, that initial fear in my work. So I've been a firefighter for, 35 years now. And at one point I was a training officer, so I had to stand up in front of a lot of my peers and teach them and try to keep their interest. So I went from a person who was terrified of public speaking to someone who just had to bite it and started to do it, started to enjoy it, found my vibe, lost that initial fear, but never the nervousness, and got to a sort of certain level, I guess, where guys were saying to me, hey, I really enjoy your training. You actually make things easy to understand and comprehensible, and I like the way you do it. So I went, oh, really? Okay, well, that's great. And then I thought, well, how can I get better? So I used to ask them, well, how do you think I could do it better? And so many of them just went with a blank look at their face, just keep doing what you're doing. Like it was just a thumbs up, like no real feedback at all. And I thought to myself, look, this is now my comfort zone. If I don't stretch out a bit, I'm never going to grow. So it became a New Year's Eve resolution to say, I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to join Toastmasters. So even then, it was a couple of months before I plucked up the courage to walk through the door of my local club, which was Bunya Club at the time, and joined the club, and I guess went outside my comfort zone and really never looked back.
And what is it about Toastmasters, do you think, that put you outside your comfort zone? Because you were already comfortable talking, but what made Toastmasters think you're going to stretch yourself?
I guess the scrutiny from people who really knew what they were doing. So I had a lot of very experienced Toastmasters give me a lot of good evaluations and picked up a lot of little things that I was doing that I was not even aware of. And that made you go, oh, I didn't realize I was staring at the ground or for saying the word up. So that sort of thing makes you really take a good, okay, I could do that, and then you do better. So yeah, it really stretched me and pushed me a little bit. And then on my second speech, I think I gave at club level, Marilyn Freeman, who was a highly experienced and well-respected Toastmaster, came up to me and said, you know, that's a speech that could actually win a competition. And I went, really? And she went, yeah, in fact, if you like, I could be your mentor and I could help you go into the competitions, which was exactly what I wanted to hear, because I had just seen one of the district conferences and I'd watched the people up on stage and just thought they were amazing and I could never be that good, but gee, I'd love to do that one day. And so her saying that was just a complete blessing. And so I took her up on the offer and she helped me refine my speech and she went in the competitions and lo and behold, I started winning some, and that was quite amazing because I was still quite a newbie. And with that speech, with a lot of help from a lot of people on the way, I got to district and came second. And
wow, awesome.
That was completely mind-blowing at the time because I'd never been past club level. So, yeah, each step was a step outside the comfort zone, each level, area, division. Yeah, and I remember winning area and thinking, well, okay, obviously I've got the winning formula, I got a great speech, and Marilyn just shook her head and said, your work's only just begun. Now it really starts.
Right.
You've got to go around the clubs, you've got to talk to other people. I'll introduce you to my mentor, a fellow called Mark Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
Who, of course, is a world champion.
Yes.
Who I've contacted him. He's happy to give you some advice. It's like, oh, my God, this is like taking up golf and being introduced to Tiger Woods. It was mind-blowing at the time.
But isn't that the amazing thing about Toastmasters? You never know exactly who's going to help you along the way, and then suddenly you're being thrown in front of world-class speakers. I mean, what an opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. And something I never would have gotten or dreamed about. You never would have planned for it. And these people are willing to go out of their way to help you. So it's an amazing circumstance.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I love most about Toastmasters is that everyone is so giving, even people that you may very well be competing against. I know we've competed on the odd occasion against each other, and you're giving me advice in evaluation contests and things like that. But it's just such a really fantastic environment where everyone is supportive and people do want to see, everyone succeed, which, it's hard to find that anywhere else. I think I've just really not been in an organization like that. Yeah,
exactly. So it's competition, but it's friendly competition because we're all pursuing excellence, right? So we're all trying to do the best we can, but we help each other along the way because that's what we do as people. And, it's friendly competition.
Yeah.
So even when you're competing people, you say good luck, you give advice afterwards, you congratulate them.
Yeah.
You go up on stage when you do win, and the second and third are the most exuberant, congratulators that you can come across. And no one likes to lose, but to be so happy for you that you won, and it is wonderful.
And that process of refining your speeches, how have you found that has helped in your speech development? Because obviously when you're working and reworking and practicing the one or, two speeches throughout a competition season, how's that process for you?
I really think it's a good process and one that everyone should go through at least once. The Toastmasters is unique in that you do a speech at a club and you get feedback and then you throw that speech away and do a different speech the next time. Only in competitions do you really refine one speech alone. So you spend the time, you refine it, you change every little word. If there's a sentence there that doesn't quite work, you get rid of it, you take on board the criticism, you try again, you present it, you get more feedback, you change again. And then you really, really analyze what it is to make a good speech. Like, why does it work? What's the parts that can be dropped off from a speech? What I learned pretty quickly was your speech takes your listeners from A to B. It's a direct line. You don't go off on tangents. You don't add extras into it. Even though you might like that sentence or you want to talk about that topic as well, you've got to cut it out, and it's a hard thing to do. And you've just got to go, what the message is that I'm trying to give to the audience is my laser focus, and that's what I need to concentrate on, not go off on a tangent. It takes a bit of discipline to do that. but only through competitions where you do that one speech over and over and over to the point where you're sick of hearing it and your dog's sick of hearing it and your partner's sick of hearing it, and members in your club kind of groan and moan that they have to hear it again. Only then have you really approached excellence. And I always say excellence is never anything you actually achieve. It's just the road you walk on the road to perfection. So, only through repetition. And it's just a process, and it's a motivation to do well because, you come second and, of course, you want to win the next time. So you ask yourself, what do I need to do to win next time? Yeah,
it's amazing how it sort of, I guess, just inspires that ongoing development and push for excellence. And I think you're right in terms of, in Toastmasters, we are more or less trained to do a speech, get feedback, and then never revisit that again. And I was listening to Kevin Ryan speak at the District 69 conference about professional speaking, and he was saying that professional speakers constantly refine their signature story over and over, and that the contest path is very good practice for that line of speaking as well, because you're not giving different speeches as a professional speaker. It's the same type of message, and you have to be able to deliver that message in 7 minutes or 10 minutes or 40 minutes or a day or whatever. So,
and even more than that, you can give the same speech by rote over and over, but you can easily be flat. I used the same speech that I came second at district level and was knocked out or came third at area level, only because I was just going through the motions. I didn't really put the energy in it. And the audience picks that up pretty quickly. If you're not really connecting with them and staying focused on the audience and giving the message to it, you're just saying the words and making the motions, people will see it. And that's something that was really humbling and made me really stop and take stock that, I was just doing that. I wasn't really feeling it. And you've got to feel it. I think professional speakers do it too, where you've really got to adapt to the audience, pick up on the vibe of the audience and roll with that and really enjoy giving your message, even though you've given it 100 times and you're maybe bored with it yourself. It's not about you. It is about the audience.
Yeah, definitely. And what I love about your speeches is that they just pull at the heartstrings. You just seem to have a really good way of connecting with the audience and talking about stories, particularly about your daughter. Some of the ones, most recent speeches I've heard you talk about, about your daughter and your armor and things like that. And it's just, it connects. And I can kind of see it pulling on the heartstrings of, all the parents in the audience going, oh, I remember that with my children.
Yeah. And that's not an easy thing to do. And again, advice I got from a Toastmaster really on a break at a meeting. He just said, look, you're a good speaker, but I really want to hear you talk from the heart. I want to see a bit of your soul, put some of yourself into it. And that was hard to do because as a male, I've spent a lifetime protecting those feelings, and you want me to expose them to strangers? Are you insane?
On a stage?
Great.
Yeah.
So I took that on board, and I actually went, okay, well, I started talking about someone I knew who nearly died in an accident. And, I nearly sobbed in front of everyone and made a complete fool of myself, but I didn't die. I didn't sob. I actually got control again and kept going. And I realized that you're not going to die up there. That happens. In fact, no one's going to laugh at you or say anything. They're going to roll with you and feel that emotion with you. And so when you realize that people are on board with you and they're empathetic and they're feeling your feelings, then you can share those feelings with them and they'll understand you and go along with that journey with you. And it's a really great way to connect. So being able to sort of search my soul a little bit and share some feelings with me, and it's not a perfect process. I've done some speeches sharing things that just fell flat, but being able to talk about things, that I love my daughter and, things in my life that have happened, and being able to do that and keep control and realizing that it's something important for the audience to hear and connect with. It is a big learning moment that I've taken away from Toastmasters.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, when you have that level of connection with yourself and that vulnerability and people connect with that, you're connecting almost that within themselves as well. And that's, I think when people hear a speech like that and they do feel touched, it's like, oh, it becomes memorable, and that's what makes the speech memorable, I feel.
Yeah. And it's amazing on people who've heard my speeches and they feel like they know me, so they come up to me afterwards as if we're long lost friends, and I've only just met them, but they know me because I've shared, a lot of intimate detail about myself.
Yeah.
So they know me. Hey, Steve, good to see you. I'm like, I don't know if we met. So, funny.
It's excellent. And so what would you say has been, one of the most valuable skills that you've learnt during your time as a Toastmaster?
Look, both public speaking, but also being able to give evaluations, that feedback part. I guess professionally, that's where I was weakest. When I become a manager and you have to do evaluations, give feedback to your staff, good or bad, it's a difficult skill to manage initially. And I struggled a bit with that. And it was easy just to go through the motions of, yep, that's good, that was good. Yeah, fine with that, happy with that, you could improve that. I think it's not until you do evaluations in Toastmasters and you realize that people are hungry for quality feedback of areas to improve, and if done in the right way, you're doing them a huge favor and a huge disservice when you don't do that. So, people, when people just give you, yep, you're great, just keep doing what you're doing, you can't grow from that. It doesn't really give you anything. But when people say, look, you do this really well, you may not be aware of it, but your strength is this. And that's a great gift to give. And then when you say, where you could improve is by doing this, and this is how you might want to do it, that's a huge gift. And it really takes a bit of courage, but boy, it pays dividends to the person receiving it. And then once you get comfortable with that and you can give that, people really respect that you tell it like it is. You are very aware of them and you're looking at them and wondering how they could get better and appreciating what they're good at. And I've just found that as a manager and a leader, I've grown a long way just by being able to give feedback to people. And I learned that skill from Toastmasters without any doubt.
And is that something you're sort of able to guide others how to do in your teams and things like that? Are you able to sort of pass that on to other people?
That's a bit of that mentor role where, you just give the theory of what a good leader should be to other leaders and so on, particularly young leaders coming through. Some of them are trying to be the tough leader and the no nonsense, and you go, it's not about that. That's not what's going to buy their loyalty and get them on board with you. It's the loyalty comes from, I see you, I see who you are, I appreciate you, and I'm invested in making you better. And this is how I think you could improve. People love that, and they'll follow you if you do that. And that's theoretical, but also what I try to practice. And then hopefully people can see it and go, oh, that's how you do it. And I know I've done that throughout my career. There's always someone who go, I love the way that person runs a meeting. I love the way that person gives feedback. I love the way that person writes a really good email. You learn little things from everyone as you go. So if you can demonstrate and, walk the walk, I think you leave an impression on other people you're not even aware of.
It's interesting as well, your take on that polite scrutiny, but the different ways that you see it, even if you're not necessarily evaluating someone speaking, but just that as an evaluator at Toastmasters, you do scrutinize that person and what they're doing and what they're saying and how they're saying it so closely. I think that does then roll over to every area. And it's noticing the good in people, as you say, and seeing them. And when people feel seen, they do connect and they naturally want to help you out and, do better, I think.
Yeah. They feel valued and connected to you. You're not just the boss, and they're not just a worker. There's someone who you see who they are, and people love being seen. And even like I've done a few speechcraft courses, and we always make them evaluate each other. And it's an important skill, not just to be able to evaluate, but I say to them, to appreciate what a good speech is to really listen and analyze what it is. And you only do that when you're evaluating them. So you can hear a good speech. You go, I really like that speech. It was good. It was funny. Great. But now you got to evaluate them. So look deeper. What should they do? What was their structure? What was their speed? What would their body language look like? Did they have a good introduction that was interesting? And suddenly you've gone from a person who just likes music to a person who can play music and can really analyze and knows a good musician or a good song when they hear it because they know it. And that's what I try to get people to do with speeches. But of course, the evaluation side is also important too, that they know how to give feedback without feeling embarrassed that they're criticizing people or going over the top. Some people evaluate far too harshly.
Yes.
And that's something they need to control too.
Yeah. It's not often. I haven't found often in Toastmasters that I've had, to rein someone in but yeah, every now and then you see it and it's like, it's jolting because we're not sort of used to really harsh feedback. So
yeah, it's a very gentle atmosphere, but yeah, occasionally when people are a little bit just stepping their toes a little bit too much, you really see it.
Yes. And what would you say to people who are out there, who may be thinking about going to Toastmasters but are nervous or anxious about actually setting foot in that first club meeting? What would you say to them?
Well, growth only occurs outside your comfort zone. So yes, you're comfortable in your little bubble, but you're not growing. So if you want to grow as a person in whatever area you want, that's an area where you could go to a place that feels uncomfortable first of all, but it's a very relaxed, very encouraging atmosphere. So it's a gentle area outside your comfort zone, and you'll grow from that. The things you do outside your comfort zone pay off 10 times in your real life, and you've just got to go outside your comfort zone.
And how do you sort of now push yourself at Toastmasters to get out of your comfort zone? Because you have competed at various levels and you've been sort of, around the district. So yeah, how do you continue to push yourself at Toastmasters now?
Yeah, that's a good question because I joined Leading Edge, which is an advanced Toastmasters club. So the table topics are a little bit more difficult. There's occasionally more challenging speech topics or challenges we have to do. I found that good and stimulating and challenging. But even going in table topics, for example. So I've competed in evaluations, international and humorous, but I never really competed in table topics until I went to area and, we were gathered up and said, look, we don't have enough competitors. We need someone to represent. Who's it going to be? I'm not sure. I think everyone took a step back except me because all of a sudden I was the guy. And so I competed at table topics, which was never on my plan. It was never on my agenda.
I remember.
Yeah, you're one of those people who step back, if I remember.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I was there to compete the international. I was like, oh, look, I'll do it. I don't prepare anything. I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
To my surprise, I won, and then onwards, and now I've won at district, which is just amazing for something that I never planned for.
Yeah.
So in a way, I said yes because, again, it's a challenge. Okay, I've never done this. It wasn't what I planned for.
Yeah.
Here's an opportunity. What am I going to do? Am I going to walk through that door that's just opened or stand here and wish I had?
Yeah.
So, and that's just my philosophy in life is when you can take an opportunity, take the next step, which ironically was the theme of my table topics district competition. So there you go, full circle.
Yeah, it was meant to be. But yeah, I do remember when we all stepped back at that area contest. And you, Steve, how about you? You look like you want to do table topics. Oh, it's funny. But it's amazing what happens when you say yes. It's so much can transpire when you say yes and you just see how it goes. And
yeah.
I think there's plenty of interesting opportunities to say yes to in Toastmasters. And I definitely think that Leading Edge, the nature of the people there, they tend to say yes a whole lot, very often to major things, major projects, major undertakings, and that rubs off. I definitely think that being around people like our members, our fellow members at Leading Edge is definitely, by default, you have to raise the bar. You have to raise your own bar, I think.
Yeah, it makes you look at yourself and, you just take the conference, for example. We saw how the whole club embraced it, went with it, and how, no balloon ever hit the ground because there was 3 people there ready to grab it and push it back up in the air. That's how it was, and you can't help but be inspired and going, oh, God, I could lift my game a bit here. Like, look at these people.
Yeah.
So it is inspiring, and it's the people you surround yourself with are the ones you compare yourself to and help to set your agenda and your goal in life. And I think if you surround yourself with people like that, you can't do too bad.
I agree. And I think about the types of things that I've done in the last year since I've been in Leading Edge. I wouldn't have done them had I not joined Leading Edge. I just wouldn't have had the exposure to the different levels of, the Toastmasters organization, or it would have taken a lot longer perhaps to find those different areas of, and being involved in the conference. And I think you're right. It's being around very inspiring people inspires you to push yourself out of your comfort zone. But even like I think our agenda for our next Leading Edge meeting, I think I'm evaluating you, and I'm like, oh, I still kind of get the I know I'll be able to do it, but it's sort of still that, oh, okay, I've got to evaluate a really awesome speaker. And that's nerve-wracking because it's, as an evaluator, I want to be able to give you feedback about, and give feedback and do an evaluation and provide hopefully some value. And it's like,
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I don't think I'm anything special myself, and I feel there's a lot of areas to improve. So I'm happy to hear what everyone's impressions are. I would say the most junior evaluators, it's totally personal. It's your impression of that speech, and you own that, and it's you. It doesn't have to be a technical, you'd put your hands here sort of thing. If it's I really enjoyed your speech, but I found it a bit blah, 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 that's your impression, and that's valid. So I'm happy to hear that. Yes, it's just one person's point of view, but you've obviously really listened, really gave it some consideration, and in the end you spoke too fast, or you spoke too slow, or whatever else. I'm wanting to hear that, because at the end of the day, certainly the judges don't give you any feedback, so you don't know what's going in their minds. So again, if people just tell you you're great and pat you on the back, you don't grow at all. You need to know what people really think, and that takes a little bit of courage, but I want to hear it, and I'm sure a lot of other people do.
Definitely. And so, again, hot off the table topics win, what sort of goals do you have for this coming year at Toastmasters?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I always wanted to win at district, and I've come second twice at international, and I've gone on other things, but I really wanted to win international more than anything. I didn't even make district this year, and that's fine. That was something I need to look at myself, and won table topics, which is great. I won a district now, and I feel like, wow, that's a big tick in the bucket. And even though I didn't win international, which is what I set out to do, but I remember our club did, and he's similar road to me. He's come second a couple of times, and nothing. When you're a competitive person, nothing sucks more than coming second. and I've interviewed people at the Olympics, and they said the levels of happiness, and the person who came third is happier than the person who came second.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem to make much sense. But then you look at it from their point of view. The person who came second thinks half a second faster, I won gold. The person who came third thinks half a second slower, and I'm not even on this podium.
Yes.
So I'm lucky to be here. So it's that sense of gratitude, right? So when you come second, you kind of think, so close.
Yeah.
I can do it next time. I know I can. It's frustrating. And then you go back and you come second again, and you go, okay, what am I missing? What is it? And so Colin's same journey. So I totally get him and feel his pain.
Yeah.
So when he won, I was just as excited for him as probably he was. I was super excited.
Oh, yeah.
Really happy for him. And in some ways, I feel like I achieved it too. It was like, okay, so that's what it felt like. So I don't know if the hunger to win a district for international is still there. I have to really have a think about that, because I've got a trophy now that says district, and Colin's won it. I'm happy for him, and I'm thinking, is that something I now need to do, or should I focus on something else? So that's where I'm at. I'm not sure how to challenge myself as yet. I'm happy just being Sergeant at Arms with our club this year.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a big challenge, but it's at least I'm doing something. Yeah. My work is very demanding this year, and I'm sort of, I should be winding down, but I've actually got a huge challenge for the next 12 months or so at work. So I think that that's enough challenge, and I've got to balance my life out a bit. So I don't have too much stress, because that can be a negative too, but just enough to keep you motivated. So it's all that stuff I have to keep in mind and balance out. So I'll let you know when I know, Melanie.
And when you sort of go to write a new speech, as you're working through the Pathways projects or whatever, when you write a speech, do you write it with winning international competition in mind? Like, is that sort of what goes through your mind when you sit down to write any new speech, or do you pick specific speeches for competitions?
I'd be lying if I said no, and it's certainly something I did a while ago. Is this speech going to be good enough? And it's hard to say that is until you actually try it. But I find that if you write a speech deliberately to try and win a competition, it lacks something. So if you write a speech that you particularly love, it's close to you, it means something, and you want to give that message to the audience, then you're on a winning formula. If you write a speech that ticks all the boxes, and it's going to have this in it, it's going to have that, and really good alliteration, and the judges are going to be impressed with it, the magical ingredient will be missing. So you really got to write it from what is it you want to say and you're passionate about saying, because that will come through.
Yep.
So Colin won with his speech because he was passionate about encouraging children to follow their dreams and not shatter their dreams, because obviously that was particular to him, and he really wanted to give that message, and it really felt it in his soul, and it showed. Yeah. And the audience went along with him, and that's why he won, right? So if he went up there to think, okay, now if I pause for 2.5 seconds and I put my hand in the air and I gaze off in the distance, I'll tick a box, people see through actors pretty quickly. So you really got to do what generally is yours. And I guess now I'm at a point where if I'm inspired by something, that's what I'll write about. Particularly table topics. Sometimes you get an interesting table topic on something you haven't really thought about, and something just comes out of the depths of your past, your experience. And that's how I got the suit of armor thing. It was a table topic where I just said, when my daughter was born, it just melted a hole through my suit of armor. And people just went, oh, that was fantastic. That really, I felt that as a dad. And I went, okay. So now I'm connecting with an audience, and it's something that I feel. So other people feel it too. Okay, let's see where this could go. And I built a speech around it. So, and mind you, I've done that 10 times and then thrown away the speech is not quite good enough. But that's generally how I do it, is you're inspired by something you felt, or you thought people would want to hear about, and then you explored how far you can go with that.
And I think what you've just described there is very much illustrating what Katrina was talking about at the District 69, that breakout session where she was talking about, speaking from your ego or from your heart, and basically being authentic and, and not doing things the formulaic way, pause here, gesture here, whatever, and just actually speaking from your heart and being vulnerable, which is what she was sort of saying.
Exactly. That's absolutely right. And what we should all aspire to is to be genuinely ourselves, trying to give an authentic message to people, but also realizing that people new to giving speeches still need to know the building blocks of it, the words to use, when to give a pause instead of an how to use your hands, that sort of thing. But learning that without becoming too robot-like or being like a pantomime actor about it, still be you, authentically you. And I always find when people have their own little mannerisms or way of talking, that some people want to nail that out of them, like, get rid of the way you say this sentence or use your hands. And I don't like that, because everyone's got their own personality and they shouldn't lose that. They just should make sure it's not a distraction to the message. So as long as you're not distracting the audience, then it's quite all right to, do a certain gesture a little bit. But half the time I say, just lose it by that 50%. Don't lose it completely. It's you. It's who you are.
Yeah. Yes, I guess it's that retaining your own personality and your own mannerisms, and that's what makes us unique. So we don't want to bash that out of people. Alrighty. Well, and is there anything else that you'd like to share before we wrap up? You've obviously been in Toastmasters for a while now. So any final thoughts?
Yeah, just how grateful I am that I did take that step and went outside the comfort zone, because there's just recently, this last 12 months, there's been 2 occasions where it's really helped me. So nearly a year ago, we lost a firefighter at a fire, and we had a memorial service for her. And at work, because I am a Toastmaster, and people know that because I've run a few speechcraft courses, I became the go-to guy for emceeing events. And I've emceed graduation ceremonies and award ceremonies, but they contacted me and said, would you be the MC or the main person for the memorial for this fallen firefighter, which is a huge honour and a huge, I guess, responsibility. And when you consider the Premier Down attended this, and it was broadcast to thousands of firefighters around Queensland, I was so grateful I had this Toastmaster experience to draw on.
Yeah.
Now, you could say if I hadn't joined Toastmasters, I wouldn't have had to do it, and therefore it was a bit easier. But I'm glad that I did do it, and that it was hard at the time, but I'm so glad I look back now, because people said what a great job I did. So
yeah,
I'm so grateful to go outside the comfort zone and give myself that opportunity. And then just recently, only barely a month ago, my daughter got married, and I got to give the father the bride speech, and I think I did a really good job of that too. So there are moments you don't want to, you want to give honour to and do it well. So you have to do the preparation work beforehand. And as I said to my daughter, I've been practicing this speech for 11 years now. So I think it should be good. I'm expecting it will be, and I put a lot of expectations on myself. But I said it went really well. So that was great.
Oh, it's great. And I guess that's the whole point about Toastmasters. We don't necessarily come to practice speeches in front of other, to deliver speeches in front of other Toastmasters. It's about using the skills to take the message out to wherever it needs to go into your life, and having an impact there. So great examples of where and how these skills can help you to have impact on people around you.
In fact, I say that at each speechcraft course, that these skills of giving a speech will help you in your professional life, but also in your personal life. There's going to be opportunities or moments where you have to give a speech or want to give a speech. Wouldn't you want to do it well and have some skills? And that's why, it's something that everybody needs to aspire to and take that nervous step through the door and make it happen.
Yes, and we'll welcome them with open arms.
Absolutely. Of course, we all know what it's like to walk through that door, so we all understand.
Indeed. Alrighty. Well, Steve, it's been a pleasure to speak with you and hear about the various aspects of your Toastmasters journey, the competing and the speech development and the things we've talked about. So I wish you the best for the year, whatever you decide to do this year with speeches or contests or Sergeant at Arms, whatever it happens to be. And can't wait to see what magic you weave into your coming speeches.
Oh, thank you very much, Melanie. Great to talk to you, and I'll see you at the next meeting.
Great. Thank you.
If you're ready to unlock your potential, consider joining a Toastmasters club near you. Check out the Find a Club link on the Toastmasters International website at www.toastmasters.org. It's worth visiting a couple of different clubs as a guest to see which club best suits you. If you do take the leap and visit a meeting, I would absolutely love to hear your experience. Feel free to message me at talkativetoastmaster@gmail.com or tag me in the comments if you found this podcast on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Thanks for listening to today's show. Head to talkativetoastmaster.com where you'll find the show notes for this and all other episodes, as well as links to some awesome Toastmasters resources. If you found value in today's content, I'd really appreciate if you could share it with friends and colleagues who may be interested, or leave a review on iTunes. This helps more people to find us. Until next time, remember the words of Roger Love. All speaking is public speaking, whether it's to one person or 1,000. Have a great week.